What would you do if your faith was tested in the line of those who hated the Catholic faith? Last time on Martyrs, we looked at Blessed Gregory Frakovac, a religious brother who was known for keeping the traditions alive up until his martyrdom. This week, we remember a journalist whose work has ignited others. This is the story of a resistance fighter. This is the story of Blessed Nikolaus Gross. Nikolaus Gross was born in Niederwürgen on September 30th, 1898, to a miner. He was baptized on October 2nd of that year and attended a local Catholic school from 1905 until 1912. He first worked in a plate rolling mill as a grinder from 1912 until 1915, and then as a coal miner like his father before him from 1915 until 1920. During that time, in June 1917, he joined the Christian Mine Workers Trade Union, and in 1918, he joined a Christian political movement. On June 6, 1919, he joined the St. Anthony's Miners Association. He furthered his education in evening courses in Deutschland, and in 1920 gave up his job as a miner and worked for the Christian Mine Workers Trade Union in Oberhausen in a secretarial role from July 1920 until June 1921. From July 1921 until May of 1922, he was an assistant editor of the Union newspaper known as the Bergknappen in Essen. From June 1922 until October of that year, he was a trade union secretarial worker in Waldenburg in Lower Silesia, and afterwards in Zwickau, and then at Bottrop from December 1924 until December of 1926. In January 1927, he changed jobs to become the assistant editor of the Westdeutsche Arbeiterzeitung, which was the organizational organ of the Catholic Workers' Movement, or KAB. Before soon becoming the general editor in 1929. The Westdeutsche Arbeiterzeitung stood out as a paper that was critical of the Nazis. After the elections in March of 1933, the paper was banned for 3 weeks. In the beginning of 1935, the paper bore the name Kettlerwacht and was banned once and for all on November 19, 1938, but he continued to publish an underground edition to expose the lies of propaganda. Gross took over the leadership of the Dusseldorf KAB, for its secretarial worker had been called into the Wehrmacht. His activities were linked with travels, which would be a help to him in his upcoming resistance activities. He also represented the KAB at Catholic conferences. He had good friends from the KAB, as well as the trade unions and the Christian politicians, and all would discuss alternatives to the Nazi regime in the so-called Cologne Circle, which was meeting in the KAB Center in the Kellerhaus in Cologne no later than 1942. This group, with those in Berlin, about Karl Friedrich Godler, and took part in his personal plans through the time after Adolf Hitler was out of office, and should that have happened. Gross later became engaged to Elizabeth Koch, and the two later were married on May 24th, 1923. The pair had 7 children. Out of the 7, only one is currently alive. In 1940, he endured interrogations and house searches since he was being monitored at the time. On August 12, 1944, he was arrested sometime towards noon in connection with the failed plot to kill Hitler at the Wolf's Lair in East Prussia. He was first taken to Ravensbrück and then to Berlin at the Tegel prison from September 1944, where his wife visited him twice and reported the torture done to a hand and both of his arms. From prison, he sent letters to his wife, including the farewell letter just moments before he died. On January 15, 1945, he was sentenced to death, being condemned by Ronald Freisler, and was hanged on January 23, 1945, at the Plötzensee prison in Berlin. His remains were cremated and his ashes were scattered at a sewage plant. He died soon after the servant of God, Eugen Bolz, was imprisoned in the same prison. The beatification process commenced for him on January 19, 1988, after the Congregation for the Causes of Saints issued the official Nihil Obstat to the cause entitled Gross as a Servant of God. But it would be a decade until the actual diocesan phase of the investigation opened in Essen, in the Essen Diocese, on November 12, 1996, which later closed on October 12, 1997. The CCS validated the diocesan phase in Rome on November 13, 1998, and received the Postio Dossler in 2000 for investigation. The theologians approved the Dossler's contents on May 25, 2001, as did the members of the CCS on July 3rd of that year. Pope John Paul II confirmed on July 7th of that year that Gross had been killed in the hatred of faith and was beatified Gross in St. Peter's Square on October 7th, 2001.